morning, good afternoon, whatever time it is that you are tuning in. This is Unapologetically Me, featuring me. Oh, we have a special, no, just kidding, we know, it's just me. All right, so I wanted to do another video more on Oxford, the Oxford shooting, just a couple of things that have come about in the last few days. So there are some lawsuits that are now being pursued towards the school. Two people are making a very good case for a lawsuit for the school, and they are asking for $1 million a piece. So we'll get into that in a minute. One thing I wanted to kind of talk about, because the last video that I did, I was definitely giving the parents quite the benefit of the doubt. There wasn't a lot of information about them yet, or about Ethan's past yet, with the exception of, the few weeks leading up to the incident. My question is, how bad were his parents really towards him? How neglectful were they? Because the last video I did, I basically said I didn't feel that I saw any neglect. And then when it came to James's ex-wife, who is the mother of James's first son, 18-year-old son, Eli, according to her name is Michelle Cobb, she said that Ethan Crumbley was very spoiled, and anything that he wanted, he got. So I kind of took that and ran with it without knowing any other information, and shame on me, but I knew things would come out eventually, and more is going to come out. And I will try to update you on that when it happens. So what has come out is a neighbor, and I'm not sure if I mentioned this I don't think I did. I've been wanting to put a video out on this for a little bit, but I've been working on another one. But, so this neighbor actually used to be a close friend of Jennifer Crumbley. And, probably up until Ethan was about 8 or 9 years old, because around that time, according to this neighbor, the parents would leave Ethan home alone for hours on end at night while they would go bar hopping, and they would leave him there without a phone to contact them, basically no communication at all, for him to get a hold of them. They never even checked in with him. They just left, and they would go bar hopping, and at some times, I guess Ethan would go over to the neighbor's house and knock on the door and be like, "Can I use your phone? Like, they're gone again," whatever. And eventually she brought this to Jennifer and said, I don't think this is a good idea. He's still really young. You're leaving him at home alone without a phone. And Jennifer would just brush it off. He's fine. It's not a big deal. Like, don't worry about him, And I guess this neighbor was so concerned that finally she was like, all right, I've said enough, but this kid keeps coming to my house. I feel that it's my responsibility. So she called CPS. And I guess she actually called CPS more than once. And from the looks of it, CPS never did anything because it continued to happen. They continued to leave him home alone while they would be out all night. So something that, I did say in my last video was that there was no evidence of Ethan being bullied. Nobody really said too much about him being bullied. There was no record at the school of him being bullied. And you would think with the type of thing that he did, something had to be going on. And if it wasn't going on at the school, then it's quite possible, right? It's quite possible that it could be going on at home. And while I don't know anything about abuse allegations or anything like that, there are past neglect allegations. And this was when he was 8 or 9. He's now 15. I only assumed that the older he got, the more he was left alone. And, and even his older brother Eli has said that Ethan never said anything to him about being bullied. And that from anything Eli knew, Ethan was not being bullied. So where is all this anger coming from? Where is all this built up and all these signs, these warning signs are like these I don't want to call them attention grabbers, but it's like he wanted to be heard. He wanted to be seen. The things that he was writing, saying things such as "help me" in his writings. And nobody cared. Nobody noticed. Nobody did anything about it. And who knows how long things were going on at home and what was going on at home. There was a video that came out of him collapsing at work, or not collapsing, basically just falling head first into a bunch of shit in the kitchen, and then, you know, getting right back up and kind of stumbling off. What is this all about?
Whoa. You alright?
Yeah, I'm not feeling anything.
Here. You alright?
Yeah.
Alright.
I mean, what does it look like is happening here to you? I mean, was he on drugs? Was he, you know, drunk? Is he on medication for something? Jennifer Crumbly said to the his manager or whatever that day that Ethan had not eaten that morning and that it was probably because of that. I don't know. I mean, I've seen people faint before, you know, and from what I understand of fainting from not eating is kind of like you literally will pass out and actually lay there for a bit until you come to. Not crash into something and then get right back up again. But I don't know. I'm not a doctor. Eli actually too was caught smoking pot at that work, same place, and when the boss said, "I'm going to call your parents," he said something along the lines of, "I go ahead and call them. Who do you think I got it from?" or something like that. Basically saying that he got it from his father. So that was going on. Was Ethan doing that too? We don't know. I think the biggest sign here that the parents were careless, now knowing what we know, is when they refused to take him home from that meeting on the morning of the incident. I started thinking, what would I do? Because as a parent, that's what you do, right? When you're trying to figure something out like this about a child and parent, you think, what would I do? You know, and I'm not the perfect parent and I don't make all the right decisions, but what would I have done? And I know one thing I would have definitely done is I never would have left him at the school. Whether or not I was worried about it, I would have been like, wow, like, let's go home. We're going to talk about this. Like, we need to figure out what's going on with you. You know, that would have been my first inclination. If I wasn't thinking my kid was a threat, my main concern would be like, why are you feeling this way? Why are you drawing these things? Why are you talking like this? Like, what is going on with you? What's happening? You know, and the fact that they didn't do that, the fact that they were just like, we're busy, we gotta go to work, you keep them, is kind of, it shows that they were not that concerned with their son's feelings at all. Or what was going on with them. You know, they were given 48 hours to find him some kind of psychiatric help. And so they were like, okay, fine, yeah, give us 48 hours, we'll do that. But as far as them trying to at all figure out what was going on with their son, they just couldn't be bothered. You know, and that's what it looks like to me now. I mean, that's all it would have taken. And he's throwing out all these signs, I mean, so blatantly on social media, everywhere, and everyone's like, He's full of shit. He's not going to do anything. These are rumors. These aren't really going to happen. He's not going to do anything. And his parents are saying, like, oh my gosh, Ethan, like, you know. To me, it seems that he wanted to be stopped. He wouldn't have made it that big of a deal if he didn't want to be stopped. But he wasn't stopped. And he was almost pushed to the point of either do it, shit, or get off the pot, right? Do it or shut up about it. And as screwed up as that is, this was a very messed up individual. And I don't know what was done to him for him to be this way. And sometimes children, no matter what the parent does, something's just not right up here, and they try to figure it out, and they do counseling, and they do everything that they can, and no matter what they do, the child still has this problem. But this case was different. This case was way different. This kid had issues and nobody did a thing about it. Not the school, not the parents. And the schools are supposed to catch things like this. If the parents aren't doing it, the schools are supposed to catch things like this to help the student. But when in this case, they would have helped the entire population of the school. You know, we have people that are not here anymore because they brushed it off. So the two lawsuits are coming from two survivors. One was shot in the neck. I don't have all the names and everything. Franz, I want to say, is the last name, but I will post it here when I have it. I'm gonna put it in this video right here. So, and one of the things that he said on the countdown was, "Now I have become death. See you tomorrow, Oxford." And that was on the countdown. So I posted that on something else, and I'll be posting it here as well. Parents had voiced concerns. So I guess November 16th, as early as November 16th, parents had started voicing some concerns about these posts that Ethan was making on social media. So they were coming to the school and they were saying, this kid is talking about all this, like, what are you going to do about it? And they kept being told by the school, like with those emails, that they were rumors and that there was no threat. So who is being charged in this lawsuit? So it's 2 counselors, 2 teachers, 1 staff member, and a dean. I don't know what that one staff member would be, but and a dean. So, and they are saying, this is some of what they are saying. Administrators were aware Ethan was in need of psychiatric care on the morning of the incident, but they failed to act or even ensure he didn't have a weapon in his backpack or locker, both of which they didn't say that part, but I'm saying they said they failed to act. They failed to act. I'm saying they didn't even ensure that nothing was in his backpack or his locker, which they had legal rights to do because of that drawing and that note and the social media and all of that. Like, they had probable cause to search his locker and search his backpack that morning before. If they were going to keep him, they should have looked in that backpack and they should have looked in that locker. They have done that for kids for far less. Okay, why they didn't do that is just such a mystery to me. I don't understand it. I don't understand what was going on in the school's mind. So these lawsuits are not a surprise to me, and I'm sure they're not a surprise to any of you, because this all could have been handled so much differently without anyone having to die. The team claimed that this drawing, so this is what the school claimed, that, and this must be what Ethan told a counselor or said in this meeting of the morning of the incident, was that this drawing was a part of a video game that he was designing, because he had talked to a counselor at one point saying that he wanted to go into video design as a career. So this was part of a video game that he was designing. That's all great if that were the only thing. Maybe, And they still should have looked into it, even if that was the only thing. But this is the problem. They failed to connect the dots here. It wasn't just one note and drawing. It was the note and the drawing. It was several other drawings that he would scribble out by the time anyone would send him anywhere to show, so that it didn't look like it did when the teacher saw it. It was social media posts. It was a freaking countdown to the day. Like, what? Did people not take seriously about this? And then it was clear the parents gave zero fucks. That the school should have taken it upon themselves to say, you know what, we have tried to talk to the parents. The parents aren't doing anything. We need to do something because we need to protect these students here. And they didn't do it. They failed to lump all of these things into one to see the perfect little recipe of disaster that had been built by Ethan Crumbley. And he followed it out that morning. So that's all that I have for you. I was able to find out one... I was eating something. I got ketchup on my finger. I was able to find out a couple things about Michigan law when it comes to the lack of counseling that they have. Michigan actually has the second worst ratio for counselor to student in the nation. Oxford High School had 450 students per counselor. So you can see where people can kind of get lost in the system there. However, that all being said, I mean, he clearly was screaming at the top of his lungs for someone to listen to him, for someone to hear him. And nobody wanted to listen. Nobody heard him. And now we have no choice but to hear him. However, I do believe this prosecutor, she is out for blood. She's after the school, she's after the parents, she's after everybody. She is going to make sure that anyone that is responsible for any of this is going to pay for what they did. And if anyone ever had any kind of like thought of, you know, the parents shouldn't be held accountable, I think everybody kind of agreed that they should. I'm sure that there were people that were like, no, why are the parents held accountable at all? I think now nobody should have any question as to why the parents are being held accountable, because I think far from just, they basically handed a mentally ill child who was screaming for their help, who had been neglected by them, a weapon, and failed to secure it, failed to give a shit. They failed. They failed. And they should be held accountable for it, and they should get the maximum of whatever they can get for the things that he has done. And I am just waiting for, you know, what they're going to do moving forward. So from what I gather, everything was left at a guidance counselor level as far as Ethan Crumbley. It never moved even to the principal or assistant principal. And then that liaison officer either. So it never moved up in rankings, even though it was clearly escalating. So that's all I got for you guys today. Like, subscribe, comment, let me know what you think about everything. I will try to keep you posted on whatever new events might be happening in this case. I'm working on some other videos, and have a great weekend. Bye-bye.
Yeah.